September 7th, 2025. The Red Sea exploded into violence as dawn broke over one of the world's most critical shipping choke points. Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps fast attack craft had surged from hidden positions along the Yemeni coastline, their engines screaming across calm waters toward a U.S. Navy escort formation protecting a convoy of civilian oil tankers. Above the surface, the distinctive buzz of Shahed 136 kamikaze drones filled the morning air as autonomous weapons homed in on American warships with deadly precision. What had begun as a routine freedom of navigation operation became the most intense naval engagement between U.S. and Iranian forces in decades. The USS Mason, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, had been conducting escort operations through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait for 3 weeks without major incident. Commander Jennifer Walsh, the ship's commanding officer, knew these waters represented one of the world's most dangerous maritime environments. The narrow passage between Yemen and Djibouti funneled nearly 12% of global trade through a space barely 18 miles wide at its narrowest point. Any disruption here would send shockwaves through international energy markets and global supply chains. At 0617 hours local time, routine operations transformed into combat operations. Radar operators aboard the Mason detected multiple high-speed surface contacts emerging from concealed positions along the Yemeni coast. Within minutes, visual confirmation revealed 12 Iranian Revolutionary Guard fast attack craft, each armed with heavy machine guns, rocket-propelled grenades, and shoulder-fired anti-ship missiles. Intelligence had warned of increased Iranian proxy activity in the region, but this represented a direct confrontation with regular Iranian military forces operating far from their territorial waters. This is Navy warfare. If you want to understand how regional conflicts can instantly threaten global energy security and trigger international crises, smash that like button and subscribe for exclusive analysis of naval warfare's impact on global stability. The Iranian attack craft closed distance rapidly, approaching the convoy in a coordinated assault pattern that suggested months of planning and preparation. Each boat carried a crew of 6 heavily armed Revolutionary Guard Marines, trained specifically for swarming attacks against larger vessels. Their tactics combined speed, numbers, and surprise to overwhelm defensive systems designed primarily to counter conventional naval threats rather than asymmetric swarm attacks. Commander Walsh faced an immediate tactical dilemma that would define the engagement's outcome. Rules of engagement required positive identification of hostile intent before authorizing weapons release, but the Iranian craft were approaching at 40 knots while maneuvering in attack formations. Waiting for them to fire first could result in catastrophic damage to either the Mason or the civilian vessels under her protection. The decision came at 0619 hours when the lead Iranian craft opened fire with its mounted 12.7-meter heavy machine gun, raking the superstructure of the Liberian-flagged tanker Nordic Star with sustained bursts. The civilian vessel's bridge windows shattered as crew members dove for cover while frantically transmitting distress calls on international emergency frequencies. Commander Walsh immediately authorized weapons-free status for all defensive systems. The Mason's first response came from its Phalanx close-in weapons system, a radar-guided Gatling gun designed to intercept incoming missiles and aircraft. The system's distinctive whirring sound filled the air as it engaged 3 Shahed drones approaching from the starboard quarter. 2 drones disintegrated under the concentrated fire, their debris scattering across the water in burning fragments. The third drone, damaged but still functional, veered away from its intended target but continued flying erratically toward the convoy. Simultaneously, the destroyer's 5-inch main gun engaged the Iranian fast attack craft with devastating precision. The first salvo struck the lead Iranian boat amidships, the high-explosive round detonating with sufficient force to break the vessel in half. Burning fuel spread across the water as survivors struggled in the sea amid floating debris, but the remaining Iranian craft pressed their attack with fanatical determination, apparently willing to sacrifice themselves to achieve their mission objectives. At 0623 hours, the situation escalated dramatically when long-range radar detected incoming ballistic missile signatures from positions along the Yemeni coast. Iranian Fateh 110 short-range ballistic missiles, each carrying a 1,100-pound warhead, were approaching the convoy at supersonic speeds. The Mason's Aegis combat system immediately calculated intercept solutions while preparing SM-6 interceptor missiles for launch. The first Iranian ballistic missile achieved a near miss against the Mason, detonating approximately 200 meters off the destroyer's port beam. The underwater explosion created a massive water column that drenched the ship's superstructure, while generating shockwaves that damaged sensitive electronic equipment throughout the vessel. Emergency alarms screamed as damage control teams raced to assess systems failures and restore combat capability. Commander Walsh ordered immediate retaliation against the coastal missile sites. The Mason's vertical launch cells opened to release a salvo of Tomahawk cruise missiles programmed to strike the Iranian launch positions. The weapons streaked away at low altitude, following pre-programmed flight paths that would take them inland to destroy the mobile missile launchers before they could fire additional salvos. But the Iranian assault was far from over. Intelligence later revealed that Revolutionary Guard commanders had planned this operation as a demonstration of their ability to disrupt international shipping while testing American responses to coordinated attacks. Additional waves of fast attack craft emerged from concealed positions while more drones approached from multiple vectors, creating a complex tactical situation that stretched the Mason's defensive capabilities to their limits. The third wave of Iranian attacks proved most dangerous when a damaged Shahed drone, apparently operating under autonomous guidance after losing communications with its controllers, penetrated the defensive screen and struck the stern section of the Marshall Islands-flagged tanker Pacific Explorer. The explosion ruptured fuel lines and started fires that quickly spread across the vessel's deck. The ship's crew activated emergency procedures while calling for immediate assistance, but the vessel's ability to continue transit was severely compromised. American reinforcements arrived at Aero 651 hours in the form of two FA-18E Super Hornets launched from the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, operating in the northern Red Sea. The fighter aircraft immediately engaged Iranian fast attack craft with AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, while providing close air support for the beleaguered convoy. The presence of American combat aircraft dramatically shifted the tactical balance, forcing surviving Iranian craft to withdraw toward territorial waters. However, Iran's regional commander escalated the engagement by authorizing strikes against American vessels with longer-range weapons systems. At 0708 hours, Zulfikar ballistic missiles launched from positions deeper within Yemen, targeting not only the convoy, but also American naval assets operating throughout the southern Red Sea region. These weapons represented a significant escalation, as their range and payload capacity posed threats to multiple American vessels simultaneously. Want to understand how modern naval battles unfold in real time against asymmetric threats? Hit subscribe and the notification bell to stay updated on Navy warfare's exclusive coverage of contemporary maritime conflicts and their global implications. The Mason's Aegis system performed admirably under the most challenging conditions imaginable, successfully intercepting 7 of 9 incoming ballistic missiles while coordinating defensive fires with other American vessels in the area. The two weapons that penetrated the defensive screen caused significant damage to commercial vessels, but failed to achieve their apparent objective of sinking major units of the convoy or destroying American warships. American retaliation was swift and overwhelming. B-1B Lancer bombers operating from Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar struck Iranian missile production facilities and storage areas with precision-guided munitions. Simultaneously, Virginia-class attack submarines launched additional Tomahawk missiles against Revolutionary Guard naval bases along the Yemeni coast. The combined strikes eliminated Iranian offensive capabilities in the region, while demonstrating American resolve to protect international shipping lanes. The engagement's aftermath revealed the sophisticated nature of Iranian planning and preparation. Revolutionary Guard forces had spent months positioning assets throughout the region, while developing tactics specifically designed to counter American convoy escort procedures. Their use of commercial fishing vessels and civilian infrastructure to conceal military equipment demonstrated the evolution of asymmetric warfare tactics in maritime environments. President Biden addressed the nation that evening, declaring that Iranian attacks on international shipping represent a direct threat to global energy security and economic stability. The United States will continue to guarantee freedom of navigation while working with international partners to ensure the safety of commercial vessels transiting critical maritime choke points. Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei responded through state media, claiming that Zionist-backed American aggression in the Red Sea will be met with unprecedented resistance from the Islamic Republic and its regional allies. The rhetoric suggested that Iran viewed the engagement as part of a broader strategic competition rather than an isolated incident involving commercial shipping protection. The economic impact was immediate and severe. Global oil prices spiked 18% within hours of the first reports from the Red Sea. Major shipping companies suspended transits through the el-Mandeb Strait, while insurance rates for vessels operating in the region increased dramatically. The Lloyd's of London insurance market declared the southern Red Sea a war risk zone, effectively pricing many smaller shipping companies out of the trade route entirely. Regional allies responded with alarm and increased military preparations. Saudi Arabia activated additional Patriot missile defense systems along its Red Sea coastline, while increasing naval patrols near critical port facilities. The United Arab Emirates quietly moved additional assets to protect shipping approaching the Strait of Hormuz, recognizing that Iranian retaliation might expand to other critical choke points. Israel's response was particularly significant given the proximity of the engagement to Eilat and other strategic facilities along the Red Sea coast. The Israeli Defense Forces increased readiness levels while coordinating closely with American naval forces to ensure that Iranian activities did not threaten Israeli interests in the region. Prime Minister Netanyahu stated that Israel would take all necessary measures to protect our southern maritime border and maintain freedom of navigation for all peaceful commercial activity. The international maritime community faced unprecedented challenges in maintaining global supply chain operations. Container shipping rates increased dramatically as companies sought alternative routes around the Cape of Good Hope, adding weeks to transit times and billions of dollars in additional costs. Petroleum product deliveries to European and Asian markets experienced significant delays, contributing to energy price volatility that persisted for months after the initial engagement. This is how regional naval conflicts can instantly disrupt global economic systems and force major powers into direct confrontation. Subscribe to Navy Warfare and hit that bell icon for exclusive analysis of how maritime security determines international stability and economic prosperity. The USS Mason completed her escort mission despite suffering moderate damage from Iranian missile near misses. Commander Walsh received commendation for her handling of complex tactical situations while maintaining protection of civilian vessels under extremely challenging conditions. The destroyer's crew demonstrated exceptional professionalism under fire, successfully defending their assigned convoy while inflicting significant casualties on attacking Iranian forces. Lessons learned from the September 7th engagement influenced naval doctrine and force structure decisions for years afterward. The demonstration that Iranian forces could coordinate complex attacks using multiple weapon systems simultaneously led to increased investment in defensive technologies and revised tactics for convoy escort operations in confined waters. The engagement also highlighted the vulnerability of commercial shipping to asymmetric attacks in strategic choke points. International maritime organizations began developing new security protocols, while governments increased funding for naval forces capable of protecting critical trade routes against unconventional threats. Perhaps most significantly, the Red Sea crisis demonstrated how quickly regional conflicts could escalate into confrontations between major powers with global implications. The speed with which routine escort operations transformed into intensive combat highlighted the fragility of international systems dependent on secure maritime transportation networks. Iranian forces learned valuable lessons about American defensive capabilities and response patterns, information that would influence their future planning for operations against Western shipping. However, they also experienced the devastating effectiveness of American precision strike capabilities when applied against their regional infrastructure and military assets. The successful defense of the convoy validated American naval doctrine, while demonstrating the continued importance of maintaining forward-deployed forces capable of responding rapidly to emerging threats. The Mason's crew had proven that well-trained sailors operating advanced defensive systems could successfully counter sophisticated asymmetric attacks even when heavily outnumbered by determined opponents. For the broader international community, the September 7th engagement served as a stark reminder that the global economy's dependence on secure maritime transportation made naval conflicts in strategic choke points matters of universal concern. The crisis demonstrated how regional military actions could instantly affect energy prices, supply chain operations, and economic stability worldwide. If you've stayed with us through this detailed analysis of how naval engagements shape global events, it means you understand the critical importance of maritime security in our interconnected world. Hit that like button, subscribe to Navy Warfare, and drop a comment below with your assessment of how naval forces should balance protecting commercial shipping versus avoiding escalation with regional powers. Your engagement helps us continue providing analysis that reveals the strategic realities behind international maritime operations. The Red Sea would return to relative calm in the weeks following the engagement, but the strategic implications continued reverberating through international security planning for months afterward. The crisis had demonstrated both the vulnerability of global systems to regional conflicts and the effectiveness of coordinated international responses when critical interests were threatened.